Good morning, I'm Christina Judd. I'm the Communications Director for the Salt Lake City Police Department. We're here today to hear from the Chief and Mayor and a representative from the YWCA in honor of the Week Without Violence. The Chief will open and I'll turn the time over to him right now.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you everyone for being here today. It's, as Christy announced, this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This is specifically the week where we talk about a week without violence. And in honor of that, we're going to plant some daffodils today. I want to thank Mayor Biskupski. Mayor, thank you for being here. This is very important and we appreciate your support. And Amy from the YWCA, thank you. Thanks for being a great partner in the community as we try to make better the lives of those who are affected by domestic violence. You know, like I say, I'm very happy and excited to be here today to talk to you about the daffodil planting, but I'm also sad as I reflect back over the year and think about those that are impacted by domestic violence. In the United States, an average of 20 people experience domestic violence, experience intimate partner physical violence every minute. This equates to more than 10 million abuse victims annually. Think about that, 10 million victims. But it's not just the victims. There are secondary and hidden victims, family members, children. And I want to share with you a story that was relayed to me that really illustrates how sensitive and how vulnerable the victims of domestic violence are. Several years ago, we were dispatched, our officers, the Salt Lake City Police Department was dispatched to a domestic violence call. And as we do hundreds, if not thousands times a year, we bring out our advocates and we ask them to help us. And they do, they come out in the dark of the night. The victim in this domestic violence was a young mother and several of her small children. And as the advocates dropped this little family off to the YWCA, one of the little boys was just so concerned about the safety and security of that building. He wanted to know how safe he was going to be in that building. And as he went through the front doors, and as the staff pushed that button and opened those electronic locks, he wanted to know how those locks worked. He was concerned that if he was going to be safe, and the staff took the time to say, yes, this is a very safe and secure facility. In fact, the YWCA was created to be a safe place for these very type of situations. And this little boy, once he was behind those doors and they were locked, he let out a big sigh and he physically relaxed and said, "Good, because I don't want to get dead." Let me say that again. A little child, a victim of domestic violence, good, because I don't want to get dead. This young boy recognized all too well how dangerous things were at his home. He was able to articulate, as only a child would or could, just how important it is that we work together as a community to make sure survivors have safety from future violence. They also need advocates who can work on their behalf to establish a path forward. Too often, the crime of domestic violence is not seen, and perpetrators use tactics that ensure they can continue this behavior. Too often, we, as first responders, see the cycle of violence that has been repeated multiple times. And too often, the victims do not know their rights, their resources, or their recourse. This must end. Let's make sure little children worry about their toys, their friends, their schoolwork, the things kids should worry about, not about the locks on the doors of a safe haven. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here today. This is a very important event for me and for all of us in this community. When I first came to Utah, one of the very first boards I served on was the YWCA, and I am a continued supporter of the work that they do. So it is an honor to be here with you, Amy, to recognize this community and the work that you do through the YWCA, one of the most prominent organizations in our state that is working to advocate for women. So thank you. Today we are here to mark Week Without Violence, which began worldwide on October 14th. Some of you may know that 1 in 3 women in Utah will experience domestic partner violence. 1 in 3 women in Utah. Though the percentage of these crimes against women is particularly high, we also know domestic violence knows no gender, age, or familial relationship. This morning we are here to honor those who lost their lives due to domestic violence. While every case is unique, we know that more often than not, these victims knew their murderers and that there were signs leading up to the final violent act. I am grateful to Chief Mike Brown and the Salt Lake City Police Department for heeding this call to action and taking steps to ensure they continue to improve on how they deal with these particular crimes and develop early intervention strategies with our community partners like the YWCA. The bulbs we plant today at a time when the environment begins to go dormant will eventually fill this flower bed behind me with abundant color. Let this be a reminder to each of us that life continues even when it is not readily visible. The lives of those we have lost to domestic violence will continue on in the hearts and minds of those who love them dearly. And importantly, their stories and circumstances will help us become better advocates and better protectors to everyone in our community. Thank you again for coming today, and I hope you all come back in the spring when this flower bed will be full of life and beauty. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Biskupski and Police Chief Brown, for your continued support of the YWCA and our services, and for joining us for YWCA's annual Week Without Violence this year. Salt Lake City and the Salt Lake City Police Department are valued partners of the YWCA. We are grateful for your support in so many ways over so many years. Thank you. YWCA Utah has been working with survivors of domestic violence in Utah since 1976, and we have firsthand experience with devastating effects of domestic violence has on families and communities. We feel fortunate to work with thousands of women and children each year who have looked to the YWCA to help them break the cycle of violence they are caught in. Today, our services include our Women in Jeopardy Crisis Shelter, which provides safe, confidential shelter for women seeking immediate safety from domestic violence and crisis situations. The Salt Lake Area Family Justice Center, a collaboration of several community partners, provides critical services in one safe location with access to free and confidential services for victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and elder abuse. Our transitional housing services are for low-income women and children who are survivors of family violence. We have a 24-hour confidential crisis line. That phone number is 801-537-8600. Today I'd like to ask for you all to help us in giving a voice to victims who are often a silent minority. We invite our community members to wear purple in support of domestic violence awareness on Fridays throughout October. Thank you.